Ben, we've been talking about Reform UK. Let's quickly dwell on our dreadful Prime Minister. What do you make of his, in my view, outrageous assertion that if you, me, anybody in Britain feels that there should be a new inquiry into the grooming gang scandal, that somehow we're far right, we're Adolf Hitler, we're nutters, we're climbing on the far right bandwagon. Where on earth did he get that idea from? And I believe in that statement he has made, God Almighty, he's made a lot of mistakes, but I think that statement was the mistake of his political life, to slur anyone in this country who thinks that justice for those victims should be obtained through a public inquiry. To say they're far right is disgraceful. Yeah,
it is utterly abominable to describe them as far right, just as he described the protesters after the Southport killings as far right. This man is obsessed with politicising criminal justice. People who are concerned about people call them grooming gangs. They're not grooming gangs. They're gang rape gangs.
Raping gangs.
Gang rape gangs. It's not even individuals raping these underage, vulnerable children. It is gangs raping them at the same time. Has he or Jess Phillips actually read the court excerpts of the experiences of these young girls? They were abused by multiple men all at the same time, many of them age 9 through to 12, 13. And they were, I mean, I don't want to repeat it on air, what was done to these girls. It was torture. It was torture of the worst sort that most adults would absolutely collapse under and would never want to live again. What these girls went through was hell. For Jess Phillips to get up and say that her life is under pressure, it's a distraction from her main workload. Yeah. For God's sake, woman, understand the depravity of what has taken place. Yeah. It's not about you. It's not about any political disposition. It's about the abuse of underage, white, young British girls who often came for the protection of the state, and the state
and we let those kids down, and there are thousands of them, 1,400 in Rotherham alone, and Jess Phillips should call a public inquiry as Home Office Minister. The reason she won't is twofold. One, such an inquiry would put the microscope on Keir Starmer's tenure as Director of Public Prosecutions from 2008 to 2013. And let me tell you, he will not emerge from that in a good light. And secondly, it's pure political mathematics. Such an inquiry would alienate the Muslim community, and at the next general election, Labour need the Muslim vote. It is the most disgusting, disgraceful political cynicism I've ever seen, I think.
It is. It's abominable. And, you know, you and I can have debates about regulatory issues that we have with the EU, taxation levels, and we can have a laugh about that, and we can have, you know, kind of, it's a sort of light-hearted, by comparison, discussion. This discussion about young girls, underage girls, being tortured and abused by multiple men at the same time, then running to police stations, being accosted by people in the police station, being taken out and abused again, being traded in local councils, having social services turn their back on them, being arrested. These young girls, some of them were arrested by the police when they were in the presence of their gang rapers.
Yeah, and by the way, Ben, the apologists for not investigating this said that these girls, this was a lifestyle choice on their part to be raped when they were underage. It's a disgrace. We need to get to the bottom of it, and Labour blocking this inquiry to protect Keir Starmer and to keep the Muslim vote is vile. It's vile. That's what it is. Before you go, Ben, let me ask you, you'll be interesting on this, as you always are on everything, but in particular this. Robert Jenrick, the Tories. You can tell, by the way, the grooming gang is a big issue because the Tories, Kemi Badenoch, has actually said something about it. More to the point, Tory Robert Jenrick, he says, he's the Shadow Justice Minister, he says that one of the problems here is that men from foreign cultures operating with medieval attitudes to women. He's talking about Pakistani men. Does he have a point?
85% of gang rapes in this country are committed by South Asian ethnic origin, mostly Pakistani. It's a matter of fact. So he has a point. The only point on which I would disagree with him is that I would say the medieval England was more civilized than what's taken place here.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. I mean, I'm assuming, for these craven reasons we've been discussing, Ben, that we're not going to get this public inquiry that the public demand. We're demanding it, but this...
Actually, Kevin, we don't need a public inquiry. What we need is a specialist, dedicated section of the police, recruited with a complete commitment to find all those in the police, in social services, and in local councils who were in positions of trust, in positions of safeguarding, identify them, question them, bring charges against them, and put them in jail. Treat them the way the Starmer treated all those who protested under the Southport, after the Southport killings. Throw the blooming criminal justice book at all those people who should have been protecting those young girls. We don't need an inquiry. We need them bloody arrested and incarcerated.
Yeah, I'll go along with that. We need something done, but what this Labour government is saying is they're basically going to do nothing. They all got terribly offended, didn't they, when Jess Phillips was in the firing line. They were great woman. She worked so hard for vulnerable kids. Well, she's not doing much for vulnerable kids who were victims of the grooming gangs, is she?
I have no time for Jess Phillips. For her getting up now and for Starmer saying that she's going through a torrid time, if she can't take the heat, resign. Actually, the whole government should blooming resign. They brought this country to its knees in many, many respects within 6 months. Just go. Go, Jess. If you don't like it, go. Starmer, you don't like it, go. Call another election. Let's see what happens.
OK, Ben, listen, fantastic to talk to you as always. Thank